She dumped me over fake cheating photos, let everyone think I was disgusting, and then came back after learning the pictures were made up. Hey everyone, welcome to today's stories, where trust is fragile, family loyalty gets tested, and some people learn too late that a relationship cannot survive on assumptions alone. Settle in, whether you are driving, cleaning, or working. Today has 8 stories with the kind of emotional whiplash that makes you stare at the ceiling afterward. Story 1 starts with a breakup over fake evidence and a woman who wants a second chance after choosing humiliation over one honest conversation. Story 2 turns love into a price tag. Story 3 is about a son haunted by one hungry phone call. Story 4 is a workplace affair hiding 6 years behind 2. Story 5 is about realizing your partner may see you as the person funding her life. Story 6 is a furious discovery about the woman he called a roommate. Story 7 is a daughter refusing to keep making Mother's Day a performance. And Story 8 is about being abandoned, building a real family, and then being called cruel for refusing to pretend blood fixed everything. Story 1. My ex dumped me because she thought I cheated, then came back after finding out the proof was fake. I had only been with her for about 6 months, but it felt like the kind of 6 months where everything was quietly starting to build into something real. We had met each other's friends. We had met each other's families. We were still early enough that nothing felt heavy, but far enough in that we had started talking about what life might look like if things kept going well. Then one day, she stopped answering me. At first, I told myself she was busy. Everyone gets busy. A few hours without a reply is not a crisis, but the hours stretched. My phone stayed silent. I called her, and it went straight to voicemail. That was when the first cold little warning bell rang in my chest. Finally, I got a text, not a conversation, not a question, a verdict. She told me one of her friends had seen me out on a date with another woman. She said she was done with me. Then she blocked me. I remember staring at my phone like the words were rearranging themselves into a language I did not know. I had never cheated on her. I had not even come close. I had not been on a date with anyone else. I had not been sneaking around. Nothing. But there I was, suddenly thrown away like I had done something unforgivable. And it did not stop with her. A friend of hers sent me a nasty message. Her sister did too. They called me awful things, told me exactly what they thought I was, and then blocked me before I could defend myself. I did not get a trial. I did not get one question. I did not get, "Hey, is this true?" I got judged, sentenced, and erased. I took a day off work. I just sat at home and cried. I am not proud or ashamed of that. It was just what happened. One day I had someone I really liked, someone I was starting to imagine a future with. The next, I was alone, hated by her, and apparently hated by people close to her too. Months passed. I tried to move forward, but there is something uniquely painful about losing someone over something you did not do. You keep replaying it, wondering how someone could believe the worst version of you so quickly. Then yesterday, she reached out. She told me she now knew I had not cheated. She wanted to meet in person and talk. That was the moment my stomach dropped for a second time. I pushed for details because I needed to know what had changed. That was when she admitted the friend who claimed he saw me with another woman was a guy who had feelings for her. He had shown her convincing pictures. She now believed those pictures were generated by artificial intelligence. He eventually made a move on her, and that made her question everything. After that, she got him to admit he had never seen me with anyone. He made the whole thing up. She apologized over and over. She said she knew she threw away what we had over a lie. She said she had been manipulated. She wanted to meet, to talk it through, to see if there was any way back. I thanked her for telling me the truth. I told her I appreciated the apology, and then I told her I was not interested in getting back together. Because the pictures were not the only problem. The lie was not the only problem. The real problem was that she never came to me. She never asked for my side. She never gave me one chance to say, "That is not me. That did not happen." She went straight from accusation to punishment. I cannot build a relationship with someone who can throw me away that quickly. She has been pushing hard for us to meet in person, but I know it will not change anything. It would just be the same conversation, only more uncomfortable, with both of us sitting across from each other, while she tries to fix the part that is easiest to name, and I sit there knowing the deeper damage is already done. End story. Just being right about the fact is a vaguely under it. Woo, here's what I think. He is right not to go back. She was manipulated, and that matters, but being manipulated does not erase the choice she made afterward. She did not simply believe a lie privately. She let other people attack him, and she blocked every side from Umbriade's path he had to defend himself. That is not just a misunderstanding. That is a trust failure at the exact moment trust was most needed. If she had asked one honest question, the relationship might have had a chance. But she chose the easiest story and treated him like the villain before he had even spoken. He can forgive her without giving her access to his life again. Would you meet her once for closure or refuse the meeting completely? Let me know below. Story 2. My girlfriend wanted me to spend my entire net worth to prove I loved her. I am a 26-year-old man, and I had been dating my girlfriend, who is 22, for about a year and a half. For a long time, I thought we were building towards something serious. We had the hard conversations. We talked about marriage. We talked about culture and family and what expectations might look like if our lives became permanently tied together. That was how the bride price conversation started. In her culture, according to her, there is a wedding tradition where the man's family pays money to the woman's family. She explained it as a token of appreciation, a safety net for the woman if the marriage fails, and a way for the children to carry the man's surname. My own background has a similar tradition, but where I come from, it is mostly ceremonial now. People might exchange a small amount, and the families often balance it out later through wedding help or household gifts. It is not usually a massive financial transfer. So when she told me her mother wanted $180,000, I was stunned. I remember hearing the number and feeling my brain go quiet. $180,000 was not a symbolic gesture. It was not a family blessing. It was life-changing. Money. When I reacted with shock, she told me I was disrespecting her culture. When I tried to suggest something more manageable, she said she would be embarrassed in front of her extended family if the amount was too low. I loved her, so I did not give a hard no right away. I told her I needed time to process it and figure out what I could realistically do. Months later, the topic came up again, and this time she wanted confirmation. I told her that even though the idea went against my judgment, I would be willing to pay it only when I had saved enough money that paying it would not destroy my life. I am a doctoral student in the United States with 3 years left in my program. After graduating, I figured I would need to work at least 5 more years, live extremely cheaply, skip vacations, maybe even live with my parents, just to save $300,000 to $400,000. Only then would spending $180,000 feel barely survivable. She did not want to wait that long. I understood that. Nearly 10 years is a long time. I asked about living together before marriage, but she said her family would never accept it. Then came the long conversation that changed how I saw everything. I tried explaining that the amount was enormous, especially for someone whose own culture no longer treated the tradition that way. She said the man's family was supposed to help. I told her I did not know if my parents had that kind of money, and even if they did not support this. I also did not think it was her place to tell my parents how to spend their money. Then I suggested a compromise. She wanted a prenuptial agreement anyway, and even though I do not like thinking about divorce before marriage, I was willing to consider it. I offered a clause that if she did all of the money, our marriage ended. I would give her $180,000, no questions asked. She rejected that too. She said, what if I gambled the money away or became addicted to something and did not have the money later? I understood the logic in theory, but emotionally it felt awful. It felt like she was already imagining me as irresponsible and unsafe before we were even married. Eventually, we estimated that my net worth after finishing my doctorate would be around $100,000. She said maybe she could get her parents to lower the price to around that amount. Then we could marry right after I graduated. I said I still would not feel comfortable spending my entire net worth and starting from zero. That was when she turned it into a love test. She told me she would spend $100,000 to have me forever, but I would not do it for her. She said her friends would choose the person they loved over the money. She told me I loved money more than her. She said no woman would be okay with hearing that I would choose $100,000 over them. I tried to explain that context matters. If she had a medical emergency or if her life was in danger, I would spend the money. But handing my entire net worth to her family for a tradition I did not believe in was not the same thing. She kept pushing the black and white version, her or the money, and then she broke up with me. Afterward, I talked to close friends, and they all said I was being reasonable, maybe even too patient. I still felt bad, because feelings do not shut off just because a situation becomes absurd. But the more I sat with it, the more obvious it became that I was not refusing to love her. I was refusing to bankrupt myself to prove it. END story. Here's what I think. He was not choosing money over love. He was choosing stability over a demand that kept changing shape until every compromise failed. A tradition can matter deeply to someone, but culture cannot be used as a weapon to silence every practical concern. What makes this especially troubling is that she turned a financial boundary into a moral accusation. He offered time, he offered planning, he even offered a legal safety net. None of that was enough because the real demand became emotional surrender. He is grieving the relationship, but the breakup may have saved him from a marriage where every disagreement became proof that he did not love hard enough. Would you walk away from the relationship or keep negotiating with both families? Let me know below. Story 3. I stopped financially supporting my mother, and then she called me hungry. I am a 42-year-old man, married to my husband, who is 40. We have done well for ourselves. Together, we make a little over $1 million a year. On paper, that sounds like the kind of life where every family problem should be easier. In reality, money can make certain family wounds even more complicated because people start treating your bank account like proof that your pain should have limits. My mother has struggled with addiction for most of my life. Even with that history, we were fairly close. We talked almost every day. I knew she was difficult. I knew there were patterns that were not healthy. But she was still my mother, and some part of me kept trying to rescue the relationship by rescuing her circumstances. For years, I supported her financially. I paid the rent and security deposit for her apartment. I paid her phone bill. I added her as an authorized user on our American Express card with a spending limit. I kept telling myself it was help. I kept telling myself it was protection. Maybe if the bills were paid, maybe if her phone stayed on, maybe if she had a safe place, things would not spiral. Then, a few months ago, she texted me out of nowhere. She accused me of dirtying her name. She said I had hurt her deeply. I had no idea what she meant. I called her several times, and every time she sent me straight to voicemail. In one voicemail, she mentioned my sister acting strangely at my wedding, and that clue finally gave me something to follow. I reached out to my siblings in a group chat and asked what exactly I was being accused of lying about. That was when I found out my mother was telling everyone I had lied about something she said to one of my sisters. The line was cruel. She had told my sister, in ugly words, that she did not care about her or the wedding and was not coming. My mother and that sister had not spoken in about 2 years. The problem was that I had screenshots. I still remember sending them into that group chat and feeling this exhausted calm settle over me. There it was, proof, not interpretation, not drama, her own words. My mother's response was, "Oh, I do not remember saying that." That was the moment something in me snapped. I told her that until I got an apology, the bank was closed. Later that night, she called me. She sounded either drunk or high. She asked me to order food for her because she was hungry. I told her I was at work and that I would see what I could do, but I never sent the food. And honestly, I never contacted her again after that because she still never apologized. There is one more piece of context that matters. When I was 16, my mother legally divorced me as her child. That is not a phrase I use lightly. That is something that happened. So when people hear one phone call about hunger, they do not hear all the years behind it. They do not hear the child who had already been rejected. They do not hear the adult who kept paying bills anyway. Now, I keep thinking about that call. It was food, something basic, something human. Part of me feels justified because I had finally set a boundary after years of emotional and financial exhaustion. Another part of me feels horrible because she was hungry and I had the ability to help. That is the hardest part of boundaries with someone who has hurt you. The boundary can be necessary and still feel cruel in your hands. You can know the pattern is manipulation and still hear your mother's voice saying she needs food. You can be right and still feel sick. I do not know if I abandoned her in that moment or if I finally stopped abandoning myself. End story. Here is what I think. He is carrying guilt that does not belong entirely to him. Feeding someone once is kind, but funding a destructive cycle for years is not the same as love. His mother had many chances to repair the immediate harm with one honest apology, and instead, she shifted into need at the exact moment accountability was required. That does not mean her hunger was fake. It means the situation was bigger than one meal. He can have compassion for her and still refuse to keep being the emergency service for a parent who legally and emotionally abandoned him. The real work now is not deciding whether that one food order made him bad. It is learning how to live without letting guilt make every future decision. Would you send one final trip offer of help for treatment or keep the financial boundary completely closed? Let me know below. Story 4. She said her relationship was 2 years long, but it was really 6. I met her at work. It started in the ordinary way workplace feelings sometimes start. Small conversations, inside jokes, timing that felt accidental until it happened too often to be accidental. Before I fully understood what was happening, I had real feelings for her. I asked her more than once if she was seeing someone. She told me no every time. So eventually, I confessed how I felt over text. Her response was not what I expected. She told me I had crossed a boundary and that we were just colleagues. I was embarrassed, but I tried to accept it. Then, the next day, she walked up to my desk and greeted me like nothing had happened. That became the pattern. We would pull away, then we would talk again. We would ignore each other, then drift back into whatever this thing was. At some point, she finally mentioned that she was in a relationship. 2 years, she said. I should have stopped there. I know that now. I knew it then too, somewhere underneath all the wanting. But things escalated. We started kissing at the office almost every day. She brought me food. She cared for me in ways that felt rare and intimate. She told me her relationship was hollow, just a label. She told me she wanted to be with me but could not leave because everyone in her life knew them as a couple. When I left the job, I expected distance to finally do what self-control had not done. Instead, we got closer. We had video calls until 4 in the morning. We learned everything about each other. I was completely in love. I thought about marrying her. She told me no one had ever loved her the way I did. She told me I was exactly what she had always wanted. But whenever she was around her boyfriend, she would block me. Then she would apologize, and I would wait. That cycle broke me slowly, not all at once. One morning, I realized there was a hole where my confidence used to be. One night, drunk and exhausted from months of anxiety, I called her boyfriend. That was when the entire story collapsed. They had not been together for 2 years. They had been together for 6. They were planning to get engaged at the end of the year. He also told me they were still being intimate regularly. She had told me she had never been intimate with anyone. I remember feeling like every version of her I had loved was being pulled apart in front of me. The woman who said she was trapped. The woman who said she wanted me. The woman who cried about labels and pressure. The woman who blocked me when he was nearby. All of it suddenly looked different. She called me after. She said I had ruined her life. Then she blocked me. The pain was severe. I had genuinely believed she would choose me. I had built an entire future in my head out of late-night calls and promises she only made when he was not in the room. 2 months later, she came back. She said she lied because she was scared of losing me. She said she could not imagine life without me. She asked for 2 or 3 months to sort things out and promised she would choose me. I wanted to believe her. I hated that I wanted to believe her. Then she faded. Then she disappeared. It has been 5 months, and I still think about her almost constantly. Sometimes she unblocks me. She sees my messages and calls. Then she blocks me again. I know what this looks like from the outside. I know the answer should be simple, but I do not know how to get out of it mentally. I do not know how to stop wanting someone who turned me into a secret and then blamed me when the truth came out. End story. Here is what I think. He has to be honest about two things at once. She deceived him, used his hope, and kept him trapped in an emotional cycle that was cruel. But he also kept stepping over a line after he knew she was in a relationship. That does not make his pain fake, but it does mean healing has to include accountability, not just heartbreak. The fantasy was powerful because she gave him just enough affection to keep him waiting and just enough rejection to keep him insecure. That kind of intermittent attention can feel addictive. He needs distance with no checking, no messaging, no waiting for the next unblock. The closure is not going to come from her. It has to come from the decision to stop treating a painful attachment like proof of love. Would you block her everywhere immediately or leave one final goodbye message first? Let me know below. Story 5. My girlfriend showed me something I do not think I can move past. I am a 27-year-old man, and my girlfriend is 27 too. We have been together for 2.5 years, and we moved in together about 7 months ago. For the most part, I thought we were doing well. She struggles with depression and anxiety, but I believed we were managing it together. What has worn me down is not just the depression itself. It is the way small frustrations can turn into hours of silence. If we have busy weekends, she gets frustrated that she has no time to herself. If we have a quiet weekend, she gets frustrated that we did not do anything. I try to be patient, but some days the correct answer changes with her mood. Our intimacy has also declined because of what she has been working through in therapy. I can handle that. It is the rest that has started to feel heavy. Another important piece is money. I make noticeably more than she does, so I pay more of the rent and bills. I also fund most of our social life and sometimes give her money when she needs help. I have tried not to resent it. Relationships are not always perfectly equal, and if I can carry more, I usually do. Then we had an argument that exposed something I cannot stop thinking about. She had plans for the weekend, and I had been invited because everyone assumed other boyfriends would be there. At dinner, she told me I would be the only man there, and that she did not mind if I skipped it. I was fine with that. I had already been invited to do something with my friends, and I had turned it down because of her plans. So I messaged my friends and let them know I was available after all. Before bed, I listened to a voice note from one of them. The plan had changed. Instead of getting home around 11:30 at night, we would need to stay overnight and travel back in the morning. My girlfriend was going to be out until around 3 in the morning anyway, so I did not think it would take any real time away from us. But she went quiet. I knew that quiet. I had lived with that quiet. I assumed she did not like the overnight part, and honestly, I was annoyed. Instead of chasing the conversation like I usually do, I left it alone until she came to me. When she started warming up again, she was upset that I had not tried to get her to talk. Then she said the real issue was that we never make plans together, and that I could suddenly make plans quickly with my friends. I pushed back. We are always doing things. We had plans together for the next 2 weekends. One was organized by her, and the next was organized by me. When I pointed that out, she got more irritated. She listed recent things she had planned, and I listed the ones I had planned. It felt like she was invalidating all my effort. She said I only organize hikes and walks, which is not true. I organize parties, drinks, dinners, and other things too. The plans she makes are almost always dinners, drinks, and weekends away that I end up paying for. She seemed annoyed that I do not plan weekends away too, even though the trips she plans usually blow through my budget. The next plan I had made was for my birthday. It involved 2 nights away, and I had planned it with her in mind. Then she said, I do not even want to go there. That shook me. The argument ended, and we went to sleep, but I could not stop thinking about it. She did not suggest another plan. She just had a problem with what I wanted. I lay there wondering if she sees me as a partner or as a wallet with feelings attached. I know if I confront her, she may bring up depression and anxiety. Those are real, and I do not dismiss them. But lately, they feel less like explanations and more like shields she can hold up whenever the way she treats me becomes the subject. These frustrations have been building for a while. I thought she would improve with therapy and time. I am usually easygoing. I can let things go. But this one is sticking, because for the first time, I am not just upset about an argument. I am wondering if she actually cares about what I want at all. End story. Here's what I think. He is describing a relationship where emotional management has quietly become his job. Depression and anxiety can explain why someone struggles, but they cannot become a permanent excuse for dismissing a partner's needs. The birthday detail matters because it was not only about money or planning, it revealed whether she could care about something because it mattered to him. Right now, he is paying more, planning more, than she admits, absorbing silence, and still being told he is not doing enough. That is not sustainable. He does not need to attack her, but he does need a direct conversation with specific examples and specific changes. If every concern gets turned back on him, that answer is information too. Would you have one direct boundary setting conversation or start planning to leave quietly? Let me know below. Story 6. He told me his roommate was a man. It was actually the woman he was sleeping with. My ex and I were together for 3 years before we broke up near the end of 2024. There were issues, and I can admit my part in them. I was immature at times. I was selfish at times. He treated me well in many ways, and after the breakup, I carried a lot of guilt. Around the middle of 2025, we started seeing each other again. We never really addressed what had happened in the past, and looking back, that silence became its own problem. We were not officially back together, but we were acting like it in certain ways. We went on dates. We texted constantly. We were intimate again. But emotionally, something in me had started to shut down. The question of what we were never got answered, and I think I was living in the discomfort of that without naming it. During that time, he told me he was living with a male coworker. I never met the roommate, but I did not question it much. We could only see each other a few times a week, and I assumed his living situation was part of that. Toward the end of 2025, he told me he was going on a family trip. Later, I found out he had actually gone on that trip with another woman. She worked with him. She was also someone he had been involved with before we originally dated. He had never mentioned her. At first, I tried to give him the benefit of the doubt because part of me still wanted him to be the person I hoped he was. Slow. But the details did not line up. When I asked directly if he was seeing anyone, he said no. He admitted he had once been intimate with someone months earlier and said protection was used because I had asked about my health. I believed him then, but more inconsistencies kept coming out. He told me who was on the trip, but left her out. I had to push before he finally admitted she had been there. Even then, he downplayed it. She was just a friend, he said. She had invited herself, he said. But that did not make sense. How does just a friend invite herself to travel with someone to a family member's funeral? How does a casual friend become that involved in his private life without him ever mentioning her? Eventually, he admitted they had been intimate on the trip. That was the breaking point. It was not only the betrayal, it was the health risk, it was the lie, it was the way he had kept feeding me pieces of truth, only when I dragged them out of him. Then I found out the living situation was a lie too. The male roommate did not exist the way he described it. The roommate was this same woman. He had been living with her the entire time while bringing me back there to be intimate. I felt humiliated in a way that is hard to explain. It was like every room I had stood in suddenly changed shape in my memory. Every visit, every excuse, every time he had made me feel like I was overthinking. When I confronted him, he said it was just physical. He said he did not want to be with her. He tried to brush it off like it was nothing. He insisted she was in an open relationship and already knew about me because I had messaged her and she had told him. Fast forward, and I told his entire family. I wish I could say I floated above it with perfect grace. I did not. I wish I could be the bigger person, but right now, I hope the truth follows him for a long time. End story. Here's what I think. She was not dealing with one lie. She was dealing with a whole architecture of lies. The roommate lie is what makes this especially cruel because he did not simply hide another relationship. He brought her into the physical space of that deception and let her believe she understood where she stood. Her anger makes sense. Telling his family may not be the calmest possible response, but calm is a lot to ask from someone who has just realized how deeply she was manipulated. The healthiest next step is not more exposure or more confrontation. It is complete separation, health testing if needed, and refusing to keep debating with a man who only told the truth after being cornered. Would you tell the family too, or walk away without giving him one more reaction? Let me know below. Story 7. I told my mother that when I have kids, Mother's Day will no longer revolve around her. I am a 30-year-old woman. I am not pregnant right now, but my husband and I are celebrating our 2-year anniversary soon, and children are part of the plan for us. My mother is deeply self-involved. I do not have the qualifications to diagnose her, so I will not pretend I can, but I can say that my whole life has taught me how exhausting it is to orbit someone who needs every room, every holiday, and every emotional moment to point back at her. The last time I truly went all out for her was Mother's Day in 2022. I was unemployed because of the pandemic and living on a very limited income. I had moved back in with my mother, my brother, and my little sister. That Mother's Day, I wanted to show appreciation for being allowed to live there. The day before, I picked up expensive flowers from a local florist. I had ordered them in purple, her favorite color. The morning of Mother's Day, I woke up extremely early, before church, and went to her favorite restaurant. I spent my last $30 for the week on her favorite breakfast. Then I came home, arranged everything on a tray with my little sister's school-made card, and served it to my mother in bed. I wanted her to feel loved. I wanted, maybe childishly, to be seen. She thanked me, but then said she could not eat the whole breakfast because of her diet. She said it would be her full calorie allowance for the day. She took a picture of the tray for social media and ate half a hash brown. Then my brother came in. He had run to a grocery store down the street that morning and bought a $10 bouquet with a card he did not even sign. Guess who got praised? My brother. At church that day, she told anyone who would listen how her son got her flowers for Mother's Day. That was it for me. Since then, I have worked hard to decenter her in my life. I stopped pouring myself out for appreciation that never came. Instead, I used legal community connections to get high-priced items for very cheap, things like purses, makeup, and perfumes with the original tags still on. It was less effort, and honestly, she cared more about the assumed price than the gift itself. Then, this year, she called me. She said that for Mother's Day, instead of purses or perfume, she wanted real jewelry. She mentioned my brother buying his girlfriend a necklace and said that now that we were grown and had money, she wanted us to return the investment. Return the investment. My husband and I had just moved into a new house. We had also spent part of April across the country because of a death in the immediate family. Money was tight. I told her I would see what I could do, but I was not making promises. She said my brother could definitely afford it, and she wanted something that showed we cared. Then she said that when I became a mother, I would understand wanting to be appreciated and celebrated by my children for the work and sacrifices I had made. That was when I told her she should not be too excited for that day, because when I become a mother, the day stops being about her. My family will be celebrating me. She will still get flowers, a card, and a phone call, but I will not sacrifice the day to make other people happy at my own expense. She told me I was being ridiculous. She said becoming a mother would make me appreciate her more. I told her again that I would acknowledge her, but the day would not revolve around what she wanted and how she wanted it. The same would go for my mother-in-law. I also told her that when I have children, the labor, the lifetime of love, and the support will be something I chose. I will not place the burden of paying me back onto innocent children. She immediately told my brother that when I had kids, they would never see me again. He called me to ask what really happened, and when I explained, he agreed with me. I told him, needs to plant that seed too, because when he gets married, she cannot remain the center of attention for him either. And this is the same woman who once told me that when I have kids, she will stop giving me birthday gifts because it will no longer be about me. So yes, I told her the day will change, and for once, I meant it. End story. Here's what I think. She is not really arguing about a holiday. She is fighting years of being trained to perform love for someone who measures it by attention, money, and public display. The breakfast story says everything. Her mother did not value the sacrifice, only the version that made a better performance. The daughter is allowed to decide that future motherhood will not become another stage where her mother gets the spotlight. The only caution is that she does not need to convince her mother in advance. She can simply live the boundary when the time comes. Some people treat explanations as invitations to argue, and her mother sounds like one of them. Would you announce the boundary early or quietly enforce it when the day arrives? Let me know below. Story 8. My biological parents abandoned me, and now they say I am cruel for refusing to act like family. I am a 24-year-old woman, and my biological parents left me with close family friends when I was 5. They moved to Australia to get settled, and I was supposed to join them later. I stayed with those family friends until I was 9. I was meant to move when I was 7, but my mother got pregnant again, and they delayed it because a newborn and another child felt like too much. When I finally moved to Australia, my younger sister had already been born a year earlier. From the beginning, it did not feel like I belonged there. It felt like I was living with strangers. My sister was the priority, and I understand that babies need care, but I was not treated like a child who had finally come home. I was treated like an extra person in a house that had already learned to function without me. In my first year there, they even forgot to pick me up from school a few times. Their explanation was that they were used to not having me around. Never, never, you're the worst than hearing that. Imagine standing there with your backpack, waiting for parents who forgot you because forgetting you had become normal. During that time, my mother was also emotionally abusive. She was going through her own issues, but that did not make it less damaging. She would say cruel things about whether I should even be here when I forgot to mop the floors or clean up my sister's toys. By the time I was 12, I told them I wanted to go back to the family friends who had raised me before. Around the same time, my mother got pregnant again. Eventually, my biological parents agreed it would be best if I left. So I went back, and those family friends fully took me in. They raised me. My biological parents later signed away their rights. For a while, they sent money monthly, but then it stopped. My guardians treated me like their child anyway. That is where I built my life. I made a close friend group, 4 girls and 3 boys. We travel together every year. We joke, we tease, we are playful in the way people are when they know and trust each other. Recently, my biological sister found me on Instagram and reached out. After talking for a few months, she asked to visit. I said yes. She came for 3 weeks with permission from my biological parents. It was awkward almost immediately. She kept telling my friends to stop, joking around, even after I explained that this was how we were. Then she started using harsh language with them too, like she knew them well, but it made everyone uncomfortable. She also made remarks when I joked with my father figure, saying things like, "You are not your dad. Why are you acting like it?" That one cut deeper than I think she understood. Because he is my dad in every way that matters. After she left, I did not really continue contact. I wished her happy birthday, but that was about it. Then she messaged asking to come again. I said no. She became passive-aggressive and involved my biological parents. That was when I finally told them I do not see them as my family. In my eyes, they are the people who created me and carried me, but they are not my parents. Now they are all upset. They say I am cruel. They say I am shutting them out for no reason. No reason? They left me at 5. They delayed bringing me back. They forgot me at school. They let me feel like an outsider in my own supposed home. They sent me away again when I asked, signed away their rights, and then acted surprised when I grew roots somewhere else. I do not hate my sister. I do not even know if she fully understands what she walked into. But I am not responsible for pretending a connection exists just because she wants one now. I am not responsible for soothing the guilt of people who chose convenience over parenting. The family who raised me is my family, and I am tired of being told that biology is supposed to outrank the people who stayed. End story. Here's what I think. She is not cruel for recognizing who actually raised her. Biological connection can matter, but it does not erase abandonment, emotional harm, or the legal reality that her parents signed away their rights. Her sister may be young and may be trying to understand, but that does not give her permission to disrespect the family system this woman built to survive. The phrase she used for her biological parents was harsh, but sometimes harsh language comes after years of people demanding soft words for hard truths. She does not owe them a second performance of belonging. If contact ever happens again, it should be on her terms, with clear boundaries and no pretending that the past was smaller than it was. Would you leave the door open for the sister only, or cut contact with all of them? Let me know below. 8 stories, 8 people reaching the moment where being reasonable started to cost too much. If any of these made you pause your chores or stare at your phone like it betrayed you, give the video a like. It helps. Subscribe if you want daily stories with messy feelings, impossible choices, and quiet little plot twists. And if you want to support the channel, there is a coffee link in the description that helps keep the audio clean and the stories coming. No pressure, just appreciate it. Take care of yourself, trust slowly, and I will see you in the next one.